Freedom, Gerun Fair, good evening. I'm Reverend Dr. Queen Mother Imaku, and it's my pleasure to be here with you this evening. And tonight, we will be learning about what the Tepre, or the oracle, the divine mouth of truth from the creative force, has for us for 2024. It's common in African tradition to do a reading for the year, to get a prophetic word, to get a prophetic message, and to understand exactly what energies are shaping for the year, but also who is to guide us, who is to help us. And so this is true in the various Orisha traditions, whether it's uh, in Candomblé, Umbanda, whether it is in Regla de Ocha, whether it is in the the West African traditions of Orisha tradition, but also in Kametic tradition as well. And so I hope that you will be able to just take in all the information. If you have questions, please feel free to post them. Let me know that you are here. And, I also want to check to see, okay, where's the phone? Here we go. Because for the first time, we are also streaming on Instagram. Darlene McCrae, Duau, Duau, Geruna Fair, how are you? Charmaine. And am I live? Let's see. Not seeing myself live here. But we'll have to figure that out another time. I followed all the instructions. So, your Yoruba name is Omolara. Duau, are you a priestess? It's always important to know so you can address people in the correct manner. Nini, welcome. So, are you an Ianifa? There are various titles. Okay. All right. So, let's get started with a prayer. And I really hope that everybody's had a wonderful day. Um, we have our challenges in life, but there's also a lot to be thankful for. We have the things that are beautiful in life that we should remember to hearken to whenever we feel a bit out of sorts and a bit low, and whenever we need to recalibrate ourselves. Let us pray. Enk, enk, enk. Divine Necheru, Divine Yaku, Divine Shepsu. We thank you so much for another day. And as we come before you and enter into your sacred halls, your sacred space that you have created for us, we ask that you would allow that there would be peace and clarity and divine protection over this time, over the airwaves, and over the message. We're ever grateful for the lessons that we have learned and are even more grateful for what is to come. We ask all these things in your divine and precious names. Amen. Imenit. Please share. Please share that this is on. And let's get right into the lesson. Now, first of all, let me explain to you, for those of you who aren't aware, SHENU Kametic Living Waters Institute, we are a Kametic water sacred space. That means that we're not focusing on all the sand and the current topography and the topography that came to be in ancient Kemet. We are focusing on the life force energy of Iteru, or Hepi, which is the Nile, and all aspects of water. Why? Because water is life-giving. Not that the sun isn't, but we really need water to live. But water also represents purification. It is baptism. It is constant renewal. It is the receiving of blessings when we have rain. And also, just a glass of water is sacred. And but we also focus on the waters of the world and pray for the healing of the waters of the world, and pray for those of us who inhabit this planet, the humans that inhabit this planet, will stop polluting it. We do active awareness, active water education, so that people are more inclined to take care of this planet that we live on. Cheryl Lee, peace and blessings to you. Peace and bliss to you. I like that. Give thanks. It's good to see you. So, this means that our perspective on guardians is a bit different, because we deal with the ancient guardians. The ones that are the more popular ones came along in the Middle Kingdom, and that is with Osera, Osset, and so forth. But we deal with the primarily the pre-dynastic, and they are extremely pure, potent, and we also focus on bringing the intention of a pure heart and soul to our practice. This is the same focus as we meditate. Kat, or Ka, rather. No, Ka is the spirit, Kat is the meditation. On Ika, which is the yogic practice. Just in living life in general. So, let me also say that, according to research, that the oldest water temple that was in existence, the first one, was a Wajet temple. Wajet, let me pull up an image for you here, is depicted in a number of ways. In some statues, she's depicted as a lioness on a throne. People assume that she's Sekhmet, but she is not. But she is purification like Sekhmet. However, she is the fire and also the water. In the same way that you would think Sekhmet and Heru are two sides of the same coin. But Wajet is expansive because of the fact that she deals with the Wuja, which is the first brow. And she is also about connecting you, the Heri, with the Kerit, which is the higher self. She is about alignment, aligning you with your life path and with your divine source. And also, she is, because of the fact that she's associated with what we call the first eye, the Wujat, she's prophetic. So it is said that the first oracles actually came from the Wajet temple. And so, since we are bringing everything into alignment now in SHENU, that means it is time for us to return our focus to the original seers, and that those came through the Wajet temple. We do, however, also acknowledge that Seshat, who was called the lamp of prophecy, also speaks. Jehuti is the mouthpiece for Seshat, because Seshat, she remains silent, but she does communication here. So she's associated with the brow as well. But I say all this because we are a temple that understands the meaning of the sacred messengers of the divine, and they originally were depicted as, here we go, the snake. We pull up Wajet for you. Her image is known because also she sits on the crowns of the royalty. And so she represents wisdom, ancient wisdom, and protection, and family, and wealth. And again, being aligned, she is realigning yourself with what is natural and what is correct. There are many different aspects of what are called serpents or serpentine energy. That does not mean that we are worshiping snakes per se. It just is with all the other Necheru who are depicted with either animal heads or with animal bodies. There is symbolism that goes along with it. And so if you think of the veins in the body, if you think of um, all of the pathways, the nerves that are in your brain, and uh, how we are affected by each of those veins, each of those pathways, each nerve, and also the very essence of what is called the Kundalini energy, the life force energy that is within the spine, that goes from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown, and then shoots out and connects with the divine. If you are in good balance, that is all what is considered that wisdom energy, that serpentine energy, and it moves and it snakes around, and that is proof that we are living. It's also considered electrical. And so the wisdom of life is in understanding body, mind, and spirit, and how it all works together, how they all work together. So therefore, in um, in SHENU, we work with that deeper understanding, along with all of the other guardians who are connected with the water. Um, so I wanted to make that clear. So our message this year comes from um, two water guardians in particular. And I mentioned about Wajet because I use my Wajet oracle. And also I use the Seshat oracle in order to find out who speaks and what their message specifically is, or messages are. Pull up this image for you here. I did a lesson um, some time ago about the bird that is known as the Jabiru bird. And the guardian that is associated with the Jabiru is Bait. That is Bait. Here's the Jabiru bird. The Jabiru is, many say, a form of a heron or um, a crane. And Jabiru, let me spell that for you. Tessa, how are you? The Jabiru bird. Let's take a look at that again. And the Jabiru is known as Bait. Now, if you look at the word Bait, you'll see the root of it is Ba, which is the soul. So now, in looking at how the Jabiru bird acts, the Jabiru is one that is basically mated for life with his partner. The male will go out and help with finding the materials to build a nest, and will even take turns with sitting on the eggs. It's very territorial when it comes to family, and so here's your homework to do a little work in uh, looking up exactly what the Jabiru bird's habits are, because that will pertain to this year. This is another year of watching the family closely and doing everything that you can to elevate your family to a higher status. But because of the fact that the Jabiru bird represented the soul in ancient Kemet, this is the year of guarding your soul. And why is that? Peace and blessings, Mutamu, Reverend Tamu. How are you this evening? The other guardian, I've taught about this guardian as well. And Jeti. He predated Wasir or Asar. In fact, his attributes were given to Asar or Wasir in order to make him more popular. He is the original good shepherd, Zayu Nefer, and another pre-dynastic guardian. He was the shepherd king, and uh, known for being the peaceful, calm leader and guide. Now, uh, his territory was the ninth nome, and he was around wetlands. So it's really interesting that they both came up in oracle because the shepherd is known for taking care of the sheep. What kind of a sound does the sheep make? Ba. Okay. And ba is associated with what? The soul. The shepherd looks after his flock with great love, great care, in the same way as the Jabiru bird. But the difference is uh, the flock basically becomes the family of the shepherd. He looks lovingly over his herds, whether it is sheep, whether it is cattle, no matter what. And he also has to be the physician for these animals. If one of them gets a scrape, hurts itself, breaks a limb, um, uh, if they're able to, then they are able to heal them and administer the proper medicine. There are certain oils, salves that they would use for cuts and so forth. But they also knew when they would have to lovingly put an animal out of its misery. But they did everything they could to protect the life. And why is this? Because in ancient times, cattle meant cash. Okay, that was your loot. That was your way of showing your wealth. And the amount of cattle that you had represented how well you were doing. To have someone that you hired to be your shepherd to take care of your cattle, your herds, meant that you were doing more than okay. This was somebody who was paid. Now, if you had somebody who was a shepherd and was tending to his own flock, then that was demonstrating not only his own wealth but his own time and care. Now, looking at the time that a shepherd puts into the well-being of the flock, well, for one thing, they spent a lot of time alone. It's not like they're out there chatting it up unless they had other shepherds who were out there with them. But it was considered pretty much a solitary job. Sometimes they would be able to partner up with other shepherds, and they would help with tending to each other's flock, which was a good thing. But shepherds were known for being artists as well because they had all this time. They would take the sheep to fertile ground and have them graze, and they would sit on a rock or under a tree, and if they were literate, then they would write. If not, then they would create some arts or crafts. They were very creative, but they're also great philosophers because they spent a lot of time thinking. It became sort of a slur in later times in Kemet for to be a shepherd, because it was considered a dirty job, and it was. You got busted on for being smelly and dirty. in sometimes it was more than an insult, and it was a noble and lofty position. After all, I mean, you had to have cattle. That meant that you were going to eat, quite frankly. So the very first symbol in the Kametic runes, in the rune deck where I did all the research and traced every single rune back to the Hapi Valley civilization, is called Fei. Fei is, what did I bring that? Fei is the person that is carrying a little person, and he is moving his family to higher ground. Now, for those that actually is Fei Hu, the first symbol in it is Fei, which is the man who is carrying a child or a little person, probably his own child. Then the next part of it is Hu, which is a house. Those of you who know the runes, you know that the very first rune is what? Fei Hu, and it means movable cattle. In this situation, with the person who is carrying a little person on his shoulders, He is literally moving to higher ground. Why? Because the flood waters are coming. And it was traditional in Kemet to move your house to higher ground, pack up and book up. You would get granny, everybody. You get the whole family, and you'd have a caravan going to your other home, which was located in a higher place. And they would have moving people who were also called Fayu, who would come along, and this was their seasonal work. Okay, it's time to pack everybody up. You know, they were experts at being able to pack things and move things, and especially moving cattle and the herds along. So they were considered experts in what they did, and they were greatly appreciated. Now, how does that relate to you? This year is the year for moving to higher ground. I know we always say that every single year, but here's the trick. Because actually, in the prophecy that came forth in this year, and let me just pull it up on the phone here. I shared it already with my students. They have a much more elaborate version of it. This is a simplified version. And let's see here. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there's a talk of changes in the world next year that will be uh, quite. I'm gonna put a positive spin on it. I'm gonna be honest, but also put a positive spin on it. So, according to Oracle, it says that basically, look for major world changes next year. Last year, we were warned about economic changes, and indeed there were. Food prices have gone through the roof, and housing costs and so forth. But what was advised to us through Sashat was to connect and to have connections with people that you might not necessarily ordinarily have connections with, and to hold on to those connections. Well, this is the year that those connections are really going to pay off, and then some. Now, in spite of the fact that there are major unilateral changes predicted for our world, there is still a way to be able to ride it out, to ride over it, to succeed in spite of it. And uh, the best way to do that is by focusing on your goals. Yes, create goals and stay steadfast and focused on them. So we're talking about concentrated energy, which is Ka, which is the spirit, okay? Sometimes thought of as the soul as well, but then also the soul energy. And doing what is right. This is a year for great insight, internalizing, in the same way that a shepherd spends time in solitude and reflects a great deal. This is a year for that. It is also a year for observing your mouth. Observing silence, knowing when to speak, when to shut the heck up. And by truly thinking through before you speak, this is the most advisable thing. And this is something that is part of our culture and tradition anyway. This is all throughout the sacred writings about what we do with our mouths, because just the very symbol nefret or nefer, which is a heart. Some say it's an animal heart. with a trachea and two lines that represent the mouth. Nefer means, that is, let's do that again. Nefer. Also written NFR. Nefer is goodness, beauty, success. Based on what proceeds from the mouth. In Kemet, how you ran your mouth was everything. What came out of it reflected what was really in your heart. If you had beautiful things that came out of your mouth, and you were considered a beautiful, good person, and that would bring you success. If you ran your mouth when you should have been quiet, then that was a reflection on you as well. If you held your tongue when you should have spoken out, that was considered an abomination as well. So there is sagacity in how you speak, when you speak, the tone of voice, the words you choose to convey your message. Now let's go back to Wajet and the serpent. Serpents were considered holy messengers. Okay, so in this year, we think about what is the message. What is the message? We also think about the other level of moving to higher ground. Why? Because as shepherds would move their sheep to the best places, sometimes it required climbing over a lot of rocks and so forth, because they were moving it to higher tables. There's the in the 23rd Psalm, there is the passage that says, he sets a table before me, before my enemies. And it's not a banquet table. It is a table of land. It is a flat area of land that is safe, that is free of crags, and that is full of lush grass. Sometimes in order to get there, you had to climb. Okay? But see, shepherds had the awareness of where to go, or was willing to explore in order to find the best places. So here we have the juxtaposition of movement, but then also stillness. Okay, you find that place where you can rest and have your animals dine well. And while they're doing that, you have your eyes open for enemies. That's the other thing. This is the year for watching out for your enemies. And the enemies would be those who wanted to steal the animals, so they could either increase their herd, or they could just get a free meal. Or it's someone who might be jealous, who wants to just take out some of your animals, or predators like wolves. Okay. And so this is where we now focus on the symbols for the year. I was going to get up and show you, but I'm just going to pull this up. Oh my. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, this is here's the here's the and it's behind. The stream is behind too. Okay. Okay. So now, see, now I'm try to figure out how to not. Okay, I've got the sound on that. Oh, great. Come back to this page and see now. Okay, I think it's good. No, I can hear it. Mm. Trying to cut the sound on this page. You know what? Every time technology is really fun. I love technology. I've got this other window open, but see if I close the window, then I'm probably gonna lose this live. Is it gonna catch up now? Okay. Okay. I'll find out if it continues. I just shut the page. Okay. So the symbols, the symbols for the year. The crook and flail, which are called the Hek and Nekek. See if I can find a nice big image here. Ah, perfect. Can everyone hear me okay? Now, what's the purpose of the crook and the flail? It was understood that the punishment would be administered first to the self. In the same way that we are, I don't want to say self-critical, but that we do self-examination on a daily basis and throughout the day, observing our actions, why we do what we do, and checking ourselves if we do wrong. That's the point of having the 42 principles. It ideally was the same with any truly good ruler. A good ruler would first administer punishment to himself, observing if he was acting in my eight. Maybe he acted out of turn. Maybe he acted out of temper. Maybe he wasn't strong enough. Maybe he was just, should have been more direct. Was he tyrannical? All of these things are taken into consideration. And so that's why it said that the flail is first administered to the self before punishment is meted out. So for the shepherd, though, it was understood that the crook was not there to beat their sheep, okay? It was there to guide. An effective ruler also knows how to guide his people, his or her people. The flail was to beat off predators, okay, and to protect the herds. Now, going back to the Jabiri bird and the whole thing with family and how the Jabiri bird goes out of its way to protect its nest and its mate. This overall applies to your family, your leadership role in your family. Now, this also extends to community, your leadership role in community. So this is a year of both learning how to follow, but also learning how to lead. We can all get better lessons in that. I told you all that I recently became an Eastern Star. And so with that, I am following, and I am learning. And it's great. It's wonderful to observe leadership styles. I've already learned so very much. And people are treated with respect and high regard for one another, opinions, fairness, and so forth. But there is still strong leadership. And so understanding what dynamics go into that are vital for this year, but also knowing how to humble yourself. Another word for this year is humbleness. Humbleness. Because being in leadership does not mean that you should be, you should have your ego on parade. No. In the 42nd Gua of the I Ching, the key line says, to rule is to serve. Also, the 17th Gua, or energy pattern, talks about knowing how to follow. Any true leader must know how to first follow. So that way they know what it feels like, and also they don't go ego tripping when it becomes their turn to lead. When they truly step in to their roles, their role. Okay. Facebook user, peace and blessings to you. Your name is not here because you're probably from the SHENU group, right? Please let me know who you are if you feel like it. Give thanks and praise. All right. Just have a few more notes here. I just want to share before we close this. And does anyone have any questions so far? So again, we have the notion of still seeking out the best for yourself and your family and your loved ones in spite of seeming adversities. It doesn't mean that you should be spending what you don't have. In fact, in the book of Pebor, there is the saying that you should not spend what is not in your hand. Is that Pebor? No, that's the book of Ankh-Shanki, where it says, you should not spend what you don't have. So you want to be mindful of that. However, you do want to be mindful of taking as many opportunities that you can that's in alignment with your path to build abundance so that you're not caught out there. Any questions? So when we ask the question and the situation is presented, we always ask for remedy. So the remedy, meditating on the symbol of the crook and the flail, also uh, Zayu or Za. Zayu, um, that's the word that means shepherd. Now, the symbol, the main symbol for it is a symbol that means protective jewelry or to protect. Za. We in the Kametic tradition call our protective jewelry Za. And the meta nature for it looks like this. It actually very much resembles the various colliers or collars that you see in various traditions, like in Haitian Vodun. There is a collar that wraps around you that you wear that is from Papa Loco, and there you go. So this is a wraparound collar. You will see it. It says Za. Okay, it's just backwards for you, but this is in the book. It is pronounced. I mean, it says Sa, but it is pronounced Za. It is the S that is the actual Z sound. Okay, which is depicted as a bolted door, or a bolt on a door. The Z, this. So it's not the S that's the curved blanket. It's the other one, the Z sound. Za is protection, protective jewelry, okay? So you want to focus also on possibly you need something that's new, something maybe you need to freshen up or clean the protective jewelry that you have. But you also want to think in terms of protection in general. Maybe you need a new alarm system in your house. And I'm always asking who's in your circle. Maybe it's time to shake things up and shake some folks out, because I even since I did the reading, I have had so many people who've revealed themselves to me in terms of who they really are, and I say thank you, kind spirit, and that's it. Yeah. Because I'm not trying to repeat that lesson. I'm not trying to drag anything that's adverse into 2024. That's not saying that we are supposed to just expect to avoid anything that's negative, because that's not really living. Okay. When you come up against something that's negative, you should know how to handle it. I talked about that last week. Now, that may mean that you go another way. That may mean that you drop a person. It may mean that you may drop a situation. It may mean that you actually build up enough tolerance to be able to withstand it, and you find that there are different ways to deal with it. I'll tell you quite honestly, since I changed my medication, since I took myself off the medication and I've been doing the holistic thing to control the seizure activity, I have had a complete shift in consciousness, and also have a greater tolerance for putting up with a whole bunch of crap. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to continue seeking out crap, because it's not that I seek it out anyway, although I've done a lot of work to focus on shifting my energy so I don't end up attracting it, so I don't end up finding myself all in it, and then afterwards I'm like, hey, this is not cool. And that's because the fact that it's been so familiar to me that I become accustomed to it. And then after a while realizing, just like they always say, like with maybe a crab that's in a pot of hot water. At first, you can have the water at a tepid energy, but the level rather, but then you slowly turn it up and it's getting accustomed to the heat. And instead of trying to get out of the pot, although some will, but you know the idea. Uh, no more sitting in pots. Nah, I'm not trying to do that anymore. Okay. So, um, thanks for posting that. Thank you, my sister. So, what are you not going to repeat this year? Because that's the other part of it. This is a test. This is the year of testing yourself so that you can move to higher ground. What lessons do you need to make sure that you don't repeat? This is coming into another wisdom year. Yeah. So, okay, back to the remedies. So, there is also the 23rd Psalm. For those of you who have my last book, it is the Kametic translation I did of the 23rd Psalm, and it is highly effective. You'll find that to repeat it often this year, even on a daily basis in the morning, will be tremendous. Now, also, the instructions of Medicare, also known as the Book of Keti. Reading through that, oh my, it will teach you about leadership and the various aspects that go along with it. Okay, so now this is also another caregiver year. So for those of you who have either young ones at home or elders that you're taking care of, or other family members that you might be taking care of, whether it is assuming financial responsibility or physically helping them with their with their health situation, if it's time for someone to move in with you who needs to have a hand for a little while, and you're in the position to do so without having your house run roughshod, then don't be surprised if you find yourself in that kind of a situation. Because I was just sharing yesterday at a Kwanzaa that I spoke at in Vauxhall Library, how it used to be that when families moved, there was a migration. Like my grandparents were part of the Great Migration up here to New Jersey, coming from North Carolina. Then sacrifices would be made, meaning that you may have 6 people in 2 bedrooms and a bunch of them sharing a bed until this one and this one got on their feet, and then they would move out, get their own place established, but then they would send for other family members to come up, and they would do the same thing where they would sacrifice their time and space in their home in order to help other family members get on their feet, until everybody who wanted to come north and be successful came north, and they helped each other. They pooled their resources, their finances, all of that. So that's a concept we've kind of gotten away from, although there are a lot of people who come here as immigrants who do what our ancestors did, you know, and whether it's that your family came from the South or from Scotland, this was something that was generally done. And we in Western society, who've been accustomed to living a more lush life, are kind of in the mindset of like, I ain't sharing my house, you know. And um, you just might want to change your mind, at least for this year, and you'll find yourself on the better side of things. Just even again, focusing on pooling your resources. Now, that's a message that we got from last year as well, but it's really even more strongly emphasized. All right. So, Reverend Tamu says, this year is my year for full embody of self, emotions, will, compassion, and growth. Well, that's a great goal. That's great. Indeed, yes. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? Don't let anybody attack your family. All right. This is a year to watch out for people who are seeking to divide and conquer. Again, cohesiveness, protection, and at all costs. Don't let anybody talk smack about your family. Watch out for little ones. The ones who are the most vulnerable are the ones you really need to keep an eye on, just so they don't end up going astray. Next year is that year. Also, again, reemphasizing the need to stay calm and centered, even in what seems to be trying changes in circumstances, okay? All right. I think that covers everything. Are we good? And then also, you'll find um, the readings associated with Amun Re, where he is referred to as the Good Shepherd. That will come in handy as well. Duau. Duau. All right. So with that, let us close in prayer. Divine Yaku, Divine Shepsu, Divine Necheru, we thank you so much for another chance to come together and for the sharing of information and also for your great insight as we continue through this season of light, of Hedheru, and also of Nit, of Sebek, and of Wajet, whose day is on December 25th. We ask that you would continue to bring us your love, your wisdom, your insight, your guidance, and to bring us light, light, light. Bring us love, true, seriously true, sincere, and correct love, and bring the correct people into our circles. Duau, duau. Amen, imenit. Enk, enk, enk. All right. If you would like to have a chart, a Kametic chart um, of your personal life path, and that would include your birth date and birth time, your Kemetic name, your birth name, all of that. It is a 20-page report. Then please reach out. There's a place to order it at my website at imaku.com. Nope, I'm sorry, imaku.info. As well as other products and services. This is a really great time to get that chart done. That is a gift that you will have for the rest of your life to be able to compare to see where you are. You'll receive your personal hekau, your personal yogic poses according to the guardians who guide you, and so much more. All right. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Have a blessed and peaceful evening. You can reach out to me for that, Reverend Tamu, so you can get more information about getting a Kametic chart. All right. The same for everyone else. Much love to everyone. And so, um, Maria, much love. Teni, be accountable. Charme, be at peace. Heri, be at peace. The two fingers here are associated with the original peace symbol. Okay? Go with peace and go in peace. Much love.